Right, here we are, class 4. It's going to come a point where I'm going to have to stop saying the numbers because we'll just all start crying. But anyway, class 4. Hope you've all had a good Easter so far. As typically, it's not such nice weather today. I thought I'd put a class on today, even though it's a bank holiday. Feel free to use it whenever. Don't worry if you don't get to any of the classes. I know some people are apologising to me for not doing them. They're there for when you need them, and don't worry if you don't. It's as much for me to practice as anything else, so use them as you want to. We're going to do a bit more lying on your back today, as I promised, and a bit more standing. So dip in and dip out if you want to. Benny is in the room. I'm hoping he'll stay on his sofa. He has just spotted a fly, so hopefully that won't disturb him too much, or me. But anyway, we'll get going. So check your space. Make sure you've got enough space. Mat if you want one, cushion, towel if you want, just to support your neck a little bit when we're lying down. Make sure you're comfy, and we'll get going. So on your mats, lying on your back, shoulders relaxed and down. Legs bent or straight, whatever works for you at this stage. Find your neutral, so you're not putting pressure into one part of your body. And breathe. Just let yourself relax against your mat. Let the mat support you. Let the floor support you. Breathe nice and deep. Fill your belly up. And then breathe out. And then we're just going to start to turn the head from side to side. Close your eyes if you want to, just to enjoy that massage on the back of the head. Now, with all the moves, and in particular and with the warm-up, this is the time where your body prepares itself for the work to come. So you really need to focus on your warm-up. Don't force your body into positions it doesn't want to go in. And notice how it's coping with the warm-up. If you find the warm-up harder than you normally do, that's telling you that you need to back off a little bit today. Hold your head over to one side for a breath. And enjoy that stretch down the side of your neck. And then over to the other side. Good. Just holding that stretch when it feels right for you to do that. Check the shoulders and relaxing down. And do one more each side. And then we're going to move on to the shoulders. Okay, and then bring the head back to centre, reset everything if you need to, and then starting with your arm bent, I'm going to start with my right arm, you're going to circle the elbow around, just mobilising around inside that shoulder. Hold the shoulder if it feels comfortable. Both directions, just mobilising it. You might have spent more this weekend in the garden, so you might be a bit tight in those shoulders. Then you've got a choice of straightening the arm. So the choice comes to whether your shoulder wants to do it and whether you've got the space. So if the yes is the answer to both, then you can straighten the arm. But you're going to have to work harder on this rib cage, remember. So as your arm travels back, you're going to have to squeeze a little bit to keep the rib cage down. If you don't, then the rib cage will lift and you will feel that pressure in your lower back. So you don't want to get that yet. Both directions again if you want to. And then move over to the other arm, left in my case. Start with the elbow bent, circle it round. I feel like you're getting a bit of a travel around my living room. We're trying to find the best light in the room. So you're kind of having a travel. It's not a very big room, there's not far to travel to be fair, but you know, trying all different positions. Then round the other way. And again, you can straighten the arm if you've got the space and if your shoulder is happy with it. Squeeze the ribs down towards the hips. Both directions. And then you can do both together if you want to. You can do it with both arms bent. And start to feel the chest muscles starting to stretch a little bit more. back starting to open a little bit more. And then straight arms if you choose. But again, you're going to have to work even harder to keep the ribcage pulled down as the arms go back. So a little squeeze of your abdominal muscles as your arms travel. Feeling each circle just getting a little bit bigger. Both directions again, if that suits you. Okay, and then we're going to stretch across the chest a little bit more. Hands underneath the head, elbows out to the side. Remember, if you find this position doesn't suit, arms out to the side, palms facing up and lying still, breathing deep will just start to loosen the chest muscles for you. Otherwise, hands underneath your head, and you're going to bring the elbows in and out. Now you can use your breathing to help with this if you want. So if you breathe in with your elbows in and breathe out, and I've just realised I've got the breathing the wrong way around. I knew it was going to happen. So I want you to take your elbows out and breathe in. That's it, expand the chest. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Breathe in, fill those lungs up. Once more. Lovely. And then we move on to loosen the centre. So relax the shoulders, bring your knees and feet together. Remember, you can put a cushion between your knees at this point if you want to. Arms out to the side, palms facing up, and you're going to twist. So you're going to take your legs over to one side, turn your head and look in the opposite direction if you want. Back to centre, and change sides. Now, keep the shoulders flat to the floor as much as you can and try and stretch out through this top leg. If you need your knees separated, that's fine. Don't push down on the knee because it will irritate. You can lift it slightly but push the leg away. Stacking the feet if you can. Now, if you want to challenge your upper body stability while you're here, you can do this with your hands underneath your head. It's more difficult to do because you haven't got the stability of your arms out. So you're going to have to work a little bit more, but it's just that bit of a challenge if you want to try and twist your legs with your hands underneath your head. Depends how much of a challenge you fancy today. So as your knees go in one direction, you're trying to press the opposite shoulder into the mat. I find it easier one side than the other. Myself. Then you can add the leg straighten on. I'm going to take my arms back out for this bit because it's too much weight otherwise. But you push out through the foot. If you want to just add on, check you're not going to knock anything over. Push out through the heel, and that will start to stretch down the back of the leg for you. Again, you might find, I find it's not comfortable if I let the leg drop too low for me. So don't worry if your knees aren't together. Just let the leg lift a little bit. It'll get you to use your bum muscles a bit more as well. Push out. Benny has decided just to take his daily bath at this point, so you might be able to hear him. I do apologise. And then come back to centre. Alright, then we're going to get into the lower back. So if your back is okay with it and your legs are okay with it, bring your knees in. So just let your knees come towards you, put your hands around the front or back of the legs, wherever you're comfy. Don't yank them in if your back and your hips are tight. That's not going to help. Just let them come into where they want to and cradle them. If they're not comfy off the floor at all, then you keep your feet on the floor and you just let the pelvis rock and massage that way. But if you're okay with your feet off the floor, it is a good stretch if you can do it, because it stretches down the back and into the glutes. But if it's not comfy, it's not comfy. Relax the shoulders. And breathe. Reset the neck if you need to. And again, like we did right at the beginning, let the floor support you. Feel yourself cradled into that mat. Fill yourself up with air, and as you breathe out, let yourself soften. Let go of tension. You're going to do one more of these. And you can just stay with this. If this feels like it's the best stretch for you at the moment, stay where you are. But if you're a bit of a fidgeter and you're starting to feel your feet going, or your brain's starting to drift, then you start to move the legs around a little bit. Again, just cup the knees or hands at the back of the legs, wherever it feels comfortable. Don't yank, just moving around, finding those knots and massaging them away. I'm going to give you a slightly different stretch for the hips now. So put your feet down on the floor. You're going to have your knees apart. I've done it before. Any hip replacements, don't force the knee in. You don't really want to come past midline with a hip replacement. You're not going to force it. You're going to keep the move quite small. But you're just going to do a windscreen wiper. So those without a hip replacement, you can come in as far as you're comfortable without forcing the knee down. Just rocking from the inside to the outside of your feet. It's kind of like a windscreen wiper motion. And it just loosens inside that hip a little bit. So hip replacements, just keeping it just small, just enough to move the leg and get into the lower back. No hip replacement, make the move bigger if you want to. It's quite a nice stretch for the adductors, the inside thigh muscles. And then we're going to get down the legs a little bit. So start with your knees bent, relax your shoulders, and start to straighten and bend the legs, just one at a time. Abdominals pulled in enough to keep that straight line down your front. Stretching through the legs. If your leg feels like it's going to cramp, then don't take the stretch quite as far. It's muscles, if you're a bit dehydrated or your muscles are a bit tight, then they'll resist a big stretch straight away, they'll cramp. You don't want that. You'll be bouncing around the living room, cursing me. So just straighten as much as is right for you, and beat at a time, straighten it. Add a little bit of an ankle circle on at the end. Stretch, and you can stay with this lower version, or start to stretch upwards. Now, the leg might not straighten, it doesn't matter. What I don't want you to do is push forward just to get a straight leg, because it's the hamstrings we want to get at. So thigh vertical, about 90 degrees, and push up until you've got that stretch on your back of your leg. And you can hold that stretch and add your ankle circle on, if you want to. Like my socks. I need to say it's cold. My feet are cold today. I can hear you all moaning, especially Dave. It's not cold. Stretch. And then you've got a choice. Those of you who are happy with your feet off the floor, you can keep your feet off the floor and kick up. Starting to get a deeper stretch. And your lower back's being mobilised a little bit as well now. And then if you're happy with that, you can kick both legs together. Your hands are there just to support the legs, because they're quite heavy when they kick up. So just hands are there, just a bit of a support. Having the feet a little bit wider to get into those hips if you want to. Check you're not pushing through your neck. Come your chin up here. Yep. And you can stay in that stretch if you want. Maybe hold the calf muscles. Or bring the legs a little bit closer and hold the toes. Relaxing the shoulders. Moving the legs around, finding those knots in the back still. Breathing. Okay, put your feet down and have a stretch out. It appears Benny has got bored, so I'll just get rid of him and we'll crack up. Come on. This is Benny in his pyjamas, if you can see him. Come on. No. He'll want to come back in a minute. Right, where we got to? Had a stretch. That's it. Okay, so we're going to go into our supine strength work now. So for this, you don't want the floor to cradle you like it was in the warm-up. We're not going to press back into it to let us support us. We're going to stretch out along it. Remember, we're now lying on a float on some water rather than in a nice comfortable bed. We're balanced on top of this water. So relax the shoulders. We'll start small and we'll build up. So come with me to the level that's right for you. To start with, we're going to do our marches. So lengthen through the spine, zip the abdominals, relax the shoulders, let the hands sit on the floor. When you're ready, you're going to lift your right foot just slightly off the mat and down, and your left foot just slightly off the mat and down. And what you're looking for is that you've got the spine sufficiently lengthened, the abdominal muscles pulled in and drawn up sufficiently that you feel balanced. It feels like your foot's floating and the pressure points underneath the rest of you are staying pretty much the same. So keep lengthening through the top of your head. Keep pulling your belly button to spine. That doesn't mean you hunker down in the centre. You're lengthened out, but these abdominals are wrapped around like your corset, holding you. So when you're happy that you've got the right amount of stability going on, you can then come to single knee fold if you want. So as you lift that, as you float the foot off the floor, you bring it to about 90 degrees. Pelvis is still level, holding it for your breath in and out. So nice deep breath in and out. Lower the foot to the floor. I'm going to talk a little bit more about breathing while we're isolated like this. One, that I need you to keep doing it. Two, it calms us. When we're starting to feel a little bit stressed by everything, a little bit of calm breathing will help. So I'm just wanting it in your head really to think about your breathing. And it's a good timer, rather than going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 when you're on your own. Just count in, breathe in and breathe out. And then it's time to put your foot back to the floor. Remember, your breathing comes from your rib cage, your belly's still pulled in tight. So this is starting to build up that pelvic control, so we can lift the leg using this hip socket, using these thigh muscles to lift the leg. The whole body does not have to collapse into the floor as we do it. And you can stay with single leg knee folds. Good one. It's a good strength move and it's pretty essential any pregnant ladies doing. If there's any pregnant men doing it, same for you, but particularly pregnant ladies. If there are any, then you stay on level 1. I'm sorry. But otherwise you can come to level 2, so you bring the leg up. Now, if like me, you've got a ridiculous arch curve in your back, bringing the second leg up can be quite a challenge. So what you can do is just bring the knee towards you a bit, and that tilts your pelvis and reduces the curve to allow you to lift the second leg without sticking your belly out. So we float the second leg up. Shoulders relaxed. Stay here for your breath in and your breath out, and then one at a time, feet back to the floor. So again, remember, and this one, I want your legs to look and feel as if they're floating. So lengthen, zip, shoulders, and float your feet off the floor. And then float your feet back to the floor. So just noticing the pressure points underneath you, underneath your head and torso, remaining exactly the same. lifting, lifting and lowering. Have a quick stretch out. Now your arms, although you probably weren't aware of it, we're helping quite a bit there. So we're going to take the arms out and come into single leg kick, which is a little bit more challenging. So again, I'll give you level 1 and then level 2. So relax the shoulders, find your neutral, but straight line from belly button to pubic bone, zip up, float whichever leg you fancy. I've got my left leg lifted to its knee fold 90 degrees, and I'm going to bring my right arm up, hand over shoulder. So I mean, I'm kind of half an upside down table. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, squeeze the centre, keep your ribs and hips level, and then you're going to push your leg forward and pull your arm back, keeping the ribs and the hips level. Come back in. Put that hand and foot back to the floor. Same on the other side. So lift, squeeze the centre as the arm and leg travel out. Bring them back in. Put them down on the floor. So again, your pressure points underneath your head, shoulders, torso remain exactly the same as the arm and leg travel. It's not an overreach. I don't want you to push and make that gap between your ribs and hips bigger. It stays nice and controlled. So this is level 1. Stay with this if it's right for you, or come to level 2. So for level 2, you bring the one leg to knee fold, tilt the pelvis if needs be, and bring the other leg to knee fold, and then have both arms. So you're in an upside down table. Relax the neck. Breathe in. As you breathe out, squeeze the centre, and then opposite arm and leg. Move out, just like they did in level 1. Come back in. Same on the other side. Now, check that you're not pushing down hard on the mat. Lengthen out along that mat instead. You can push your heel away and stretch your calf as well if you want to. Check your shoulders aren't hunching up. That might be a sign that you're walking too hard. You might need to go back to level 1 or rest. You might have been on the right level, you might just need a rest. Keep those abdominals tight. Keep the shoulders down, the neck relaxed and lengthened. Push through the heel if you want to for a bit of a calf stretch. Squeeze that centre. No holding your breath. Once more. And then have a quick rest. Right, a bit of hip lifting now, because you might, I'm feeling it, you might be feeling it a bit tight around these hip flexors, because that's all, just working that all the time. We need to stretch it out. So we'll do our hip lifts. So relax your shoulders. Quick one on this one, if you've got the wall quite close to your head, you've got to be really careful that you don't slide along your mat and get your neck all twisted up. So technique is a little bit more important if you're quite close to the wall behind you. Nothing underneath your head other than your mat. You can put a cushion between your knees if you want to. Heels quite close to your bum now. Shoulders relaxed. Arms down by your sides. You're going to squeeze your buttocks together. And you're going to lift your hips off the floor. Pretend that your fingers are trying to touch your heels. They're not, but that might help you stop your head sliding. So your fingers are trying to touch your heels and you're lifting your hips. Clenching those buttocks. And back to the mat. So relax the shoulders. Lift the hips. Fingers are reaching for those heels. Hips are lifting. Shoulders are sliding down your back. Hold it for a breath or two. And back down. Now, you carry on with that and I'll just give you a quick tip. Some people get their belly and their bum confused. So when I say squeeze the bum, they squeeze the belly and they tilt back. That means you come up into a scoop. You're not using your bum muscles now. So if you find that you are scooping rather than lifting, stay still on the mat a little bit and do a few bum clenches. And the bum clench will never tilt your pelvis. So if you're dropping back, that's the front abs. They need to switch off slightly and these bum muscles need to switch on. So that's your £10 note slotted between your buttocks. So carry on, lift and and down. You can challenge it, loads of ways to challenge hip lifts. One of the ways, if your hips are a bit tight, is to bring your knees and feet together, then lift. It works your stability because you're narrower, so, and these glute muscles have to work harder to lift you. Keep imagining your fingertips trying to reach your heels and down. Another way, if you want to, is to come up to your bridge, whether your feet are together or apart. Hold that bridge and float the arms up and back. Keep lifting through those hips. Back to the ceiling and down. So you're lifting first, reaching your fingers to your heels, grounding your shoulders, keeping yourself nice and still on the floor. Hips are up, and then float the arms. If you're feeling it in your lower back, squeeze the abdominals up a little bit more. And do me one more. Lift. And back. Good. Smashing. And then bring your knees in. It's quite nice after you've done those hip lifts just to stretch out. You can stay in this, or you can do some ab curls. Ab curls will work the front abdominals and also get some mobility through the spine, but they're not appropriate for people with a slip disc or people with osteoporosis. Any pregnant ladies, again, when we're going to do them, you're only coming up just a little way. Keep these tight. Ab curls, you can do them with your feet down or feet in knee fold. Just to tilt the knees towards you, just to straighten the back. Whatever works, whichever position works for you. It's not one is harder than the other. So either feet up or feet down. I'm going to do it with feet up because it suits my back. Hands underneath the head, elbows out to the side. Breathe in. As you breathe out, squeeze your belly button to spine and slide your ribs down towards your hips. Flexes the back, curls you up. And then enjoy the stretch back to the floor. Gap underneath your chin is exactly the same, so it's not a neck flexion. Not everybody comes up the same height. I don't come up very far because of this curve in my back. So that is me, that is as much as I'm ever going to get up. Some of you will be further up than that. Some prefer to have their feet down. I find that doesn't suit me quite as much. So a little bit of experiment. If your elbows are up round your ears, you're trying to lift your head. Think about bringing hips and ribs together. Squeeze the centre and enjoy the stretch out. One more. Curl it up. And down. And you know when you've done that one right, because when you stretch out, you feel it. Good. We've got one more to do here. We're going to do scissors. Now scissors, there are 3 levels of scissors, which tells you it's a tough move. It's been broken down so everybody can do something. So I'm going to start it off. Come with me as much as is right for you. Back off if you find it's too much. So to start with, you're going to lift the right leg to knee fold. Get that pelvis neutral. Angle of the leg stays exactly the same now. So you can imagine that you've put an orange just behind your knee if you want to. And relaxing your toes, you're going to bring your leg forward. You might touch the floor, you might not. Then bring your knee back up to 90 degrees and bring your knee end towards you as if you're trying to get it towards your shoulder. But the pelvis remains fixed. So the journey, the length of movement in this leg is determined really by your hip flexibility. Just moving that leg in and out. If you're feeling a bit crampy in your toes, relax your foot. This is level 1. It's just working on that ability to flex and extend at the hip. Working the leg muscles. It's also working the strength in these core muscles here because the pelvis is not collapsing every time you move the leg. So that's level 1. Then you move over and do the same on the other leg. Relaxing the shoulders, bringing the knee in, moving the knee out. Pelvis is tight. You want these muscles, if you give them a prod, you want to feel they're working. You might have a little bit of upholstery around. It is Easter, we're allowed. So there might be a little bit of upholstery around the muscles, but they're switched on. As if I'm about to punch you in the belly. So this is level 1. If it feels the right work, amount of work, come back, repeat on the first leg, building up the flex in the hip and the strength in the abdominals. If you want level 2, come to double knee fold. Again, slight pelvic tilt if need be. And then the leg scissor. So as one leg comes in, the other leg moves out. Your foot probably won't touch the floor now because we need to keep these muscles tight. If you insist on touching the floor, it might just push your belly out. Might be too far. So you're just scissoring, keeping that tension. Like I could come along and punch you at any point. I might be just pulling up on your doorstep. This isn't going out live to most of you. So I might be just there on your doorstep about to punch you. Obviously social distancing means I can't. So this is level 2. Just feeling that tension. Put your feet down and then you've got a decision if you want to try level 3. Level 3 is straighter legs. They don't have to be locked out, but they're heavier. Pull the toes back and then you slide your feet along the ceiling. So it goes without saying, if you've got very tight legs, you're going to find level 3 a bit awkward. So go back to level 2. But you're sliding, using your leg muscles a lot more, tightening that belly, give it a prod, make sure they're switched on, relaxing the shoulders. Now, those of you who are okay with ab curl, if you want to, as this right leg comes in towards you, curl up towards it in your ab curl. And as your right leg goes away, relax back to the floor. So you're using that right leg to encourage your chest off the mat. Hands can be behind the head if you want, or hands can be behind the legs and reaching. This is why this move has been broken down, because it's a toughie. Don't forget to breathe. One more. And have a rest. Stretch out. Good. Then we're going to do some seated work. Bend your knees. Put your hands underneath you and push the floor away, or roll onto your side. Up you come to sitting. So, sitting up. Sit on your cushion if it suits you, or your block, or roll your mat up, whatever feels right for you to sit. I'll just readjust my hairstyle. And then we'll get going with the sitting work. Now, you need to get your spine lengthened when you sit, not here. Your legs will help with that. I quite like to cross my ankles when I sit rather than straight legs. It feels a bit much to start with. So right on your sitting bones, sit up straight. Hands can sit at the back of the legs or just propped up behind you for a second. Reach through the top of your head and breathe, and let your spine get used to sitting. One vertebrae directly over the other. And then we'll do a bit of bending. So bring your hands around the front and just roll forward. And then stack. So imagine you've got a really upright dining chair that you're sat on now. So your spine lengthened along that back of that chair, and then we're going to roll. So you're going to tuck your chin in and you're going to roll down. You're trying to just bring your head towards your lap. And then you're going to roll up, stacking the spine as you come. You might not move very far, doesn't matter. But you're trying to make your spine into a C shape and then bringing it back to neutral. Pulling your belly in as you C shape. Putting your shoulders back and down as you come to neutral. Change your legs. If your legs are trying to help too much, try a different seated position with those legs. Maybe you can always come up onto your knees if you prefer, if you don't like sitting at all. And then you're going to stay down for a little bit and breathe through your back. Relaxing the neck. So you're trying to bring the crown of your head down, tucking your chin in a little bit. Breathing into your back. And then stack yourself back up. And we'll do a bit of twisting. So put your right hand behind you. Just rest on your fingers and use that to lift you, reaching your head for the ceiling, and then turn towards that arm. Trying to turn your chest towards the right. Come back to centre. I'm going to face this way so I don't talk to the wall. Then you're going to put your left hand behind you and you're going to turn towards the left, reaching your head for the ceiling and your chest towards the left. That hand behind you is just giving you a little bit of support. Try not to lean heavy on it because that will bring you out of neutral. Head, shoulders over hips, and you're turning in that direction, taking your chest towards the wall. Hand can be on the legs. Try not to pull the leg in. Keep reaching through the top of your head. You're just getting that rotation. You want to feel that stretch down the sides. And again, when it feels easy, you can stay here for a breath. And really feel that stretch down the sides of your body. Going round, lifting out of the hips, rotating the shoulder back, the chest towards the wall, breathing into your ribs. One more each way. It's quite a nice stretch this for your back. Okay, then we're going to do across the chest. So rest on your hands, not too far back, especially if you've got any shoulder injuries, and you're going to pull the shoulder blades together. Draw them back, so we're starting to stretch across the chest. If you can, draw the shoulders together and try and lift the rib cage up towards the ceiling. And relax it. Try not to push forward on your fingers. Push through the heels of your hands. Slide your shoulders back and down and lift your chest. Shoulders back and down. Ribcage lifting away from the belly. Chest reaching for the ceiling. You can let your head drop back if that suits your neck. Really fill up those lungs. Good. I want you to be aware of your back muscles starting to work to lift you. It's not pushing through the fingers, lifting with the back muscles. Once more. And then relax. You're going to feel that in the arms as well. Lovely. I'm going to give you a stretch for the back of the shoulder. So, if you really struggle with this one, you can grab a towel and put the towel under your feet and use the towel sort of an extension of your arm if you want to. So I'm going to start with the knees comfortably bent. With the right leg, you're going to bring your toes towards you so you're resting on your heel. Left hand is going to come over to the outside of your right foot. So that's where you get the towel if your arms aren't quite long enough. So reach round, holding that. And you might straight away feel the stretch in the back of that shoulder. To deepen the stretch, put the right hand behind you, rotate the chest towards the right and bring the head back to look at the hand, at the foot rather. And start to breathe a little bit deeper. Keep sending the chest off to the right. Now breathe a little bit deeper and tuck the chin in. Start to pull against that foot. Breathe right deep into the back of your lungs. If you want a deeper stretch, as you're pulling that foot, push your foot against your hand. Tuck your chin in. Keep sending your chest to the right. Quite a powerful stretch for the shoulder. If your elbow starts to irritate, soften the elbow a little bit. And then come back, loosen that shoulder, same on the other side. So pull the toes towards you, reach your right hand over, so it just wraps around the outside of your left foot. Rotate your chest, again I'll do that this way, so I'm not facing the wall. So right hand on left foot, You're going to send your chest away towards the left. Look at your foot again and start to pull against your foot. Keep the elbows soft. So as your chest rotates and you pull, you're starting to just stretch into that shoulder. If you want a deeper stretch, breathe deep into your back and start to push your foot against your hand. So that's stretching the shoulder. Breathing is key on this one because that opens up through the back there. So if you've been doing a lot of gardening this bank holiday, that's going to stretch that all out for you. Tuck the chin in. Keep rotating the chest towards the left. And relax and roll the shoulder. Should feel a little bit easier through the shoulders, that. Then we've just got a little bit of leg pull to do to stretch the hips. So, hands just under the shoulders. Out to the side slightly if your shoulders are a little bit tight. Turn whichever way suits you. Feet flat on the floor. Any shoulder injuries, you might just want to stay here and work on that lifting and stretching. Otherwise, plant your feet, plant your hands, pull your shoulders back, clench your bum and uncurl. Push your feet through the floor, push your hands through the floor, stretch your knees forward and down. You're going to go up, not forward, because if your hips go forward, then your shoulders are taking too much weight. Shoulders back, press the floor away with your feet, press the floor away with your arms and lift. Squeezing those bum muscles, lifting the torso. Check your knees haven't drifted. Squeeze them together slightly to stop them drifting apart. One more, shoulders back, push through the floor and lift. Smash it. Have a quick rest. And then you're going to do some work lying on your front. So flip over onto your front. Cushion underneath your head if you want to. Arms down by your sides. Get yourself comfortable. Pull your belly in just a little bit because even lying on your belly, your back needs some support. And then I want you to draw your shoulders back. Hold them back for a couple of seconds and let them go. Draw back. Don't worry about your arms. Some people can't lift their arms up. I just want to let your shoulders retract. So what it usually does with your hands is just sort of turn them over. Pull back. Hold it for a second and let it go. Draw back. Start to lengthen through the top of your head. So as your shoulders retract back and down, you stretch through your head and you might find your chest pings off the floor. You might start to go a bit cross-eyed as well. So you draw back, lengthen, and use your back muscles to peel you up into your swan dive. Relax back to the floor, so stretch. Lengthen through the spine, squeeze the shoulders back, use your back muscles to lift you, feel your bum muscles engage, your thigh muscles start to tighten as you lift and hold yourself up. Back down. Enjoy that relax back to the floor. It's a hard exercise, this. 2 more. Squeeze the shoulders back and down, lengthen through the spine, engage the leg and the bum muscles, lift yourself up. And down. 1 more. Stretch and lift. Good. Rest on your elbows, like you're reading a book. Right, relax the shoulders. Okay, we're going to do some back stretching. So I want you to start with your arms not dead straight, but hands quite a way away from you. Use your hands to help lift you. So your back muscles are doing most of the work and you're not coming up very high. Lifting yourself up. Tense the thighs if you want to, that might help. And then you gradually start to bring the hands in a little bit closer. And this is going to stretch those abdominals and get your back loosened up a little bit. Listen to your body. You only bring your hands in as close as it feels like a controlled stretch. If you bring your hands in all the way, and you're forcing yourself up. That's not a controlled stretch. That's going to hurt you. Ease up. Good stretch if you do suffer with sciatica, or you've been doing a lot of gardening, or sitting where there's pressure in the lower back. Tense the thighs, and that will help support you. Slide the shoulders down your back. Stay here for a breath or two if you want to, and you just find that nice arm position for you where you feel supported but not under any stress. Squeezing the bum, tensing the thighs. So when you tense the thighs, it's like you're trying to pull your knees in towards the bones of your legs. Couple more of these. Really lengthen through that spine. Check your shoulders on up round your ears. One more. Good. Tense the legs. It takes some of the pressure off the arms as well. Lovely. And then just rest on your elbows. Relax the shoulders. If you need to lie flat just to release the stretch, then do. We're just going to do a quick stretch for the hips. So keeping the torso lifted, so shoulders sliding back and down. Try and kick your bum. Imagine your chin sat on the shelf while you do this. Keeping your hips down. Doesn't matter if your feet don't come in very far. What I don't want you to do is twist in order to get your foot in. That is what we in a trade call cheating, and there are consequences. So chest is lifted, shoulders are down, hips are, just gently press the front of your pelvis into the mat. That will help you stay lifted. And this is a good one for using the hamstrings. We tend to work the front of the thigh muscles a lot more, which is we start to get our imbalances. So using the back of the thigh muscles, you'll probably feel them. The back of your thigh muscles will be working. Keep your chest lifted. And then if you want to, you can keep both knees bent. Lifting through your head. Lifting your chin if it feels good. Pressing down in the front of your pelvis. If you're feeling a little bit more bendy, you can bend the elbows and maybe lift the elbows, but only if it feels good for you. Breathe. Squeeze those bum muscles a little bit more. Lift the torso a little bit higher. And then back to the mat. Good. From there, hands underneath the shoulders. Push down and bring yourself up onto your hands and knees. And you may just want to stay here. It's quite a nice release stretch after what we've just been doing. Or you can come into child's pose for that. Bring the big toes together, separate the knees and just move your hips back. Bring your hands with you. So you're up quite high to start with. Just to release the back, and you can stay here. Just getting a bit of stretch in these leg muscles, knees apart, a little bit of stretch in the ankles. If it feels okay, you can then come lower if you want to. Sending your hips down, lengthening through your spine. You can make two fists and prop your head up, or you can reach your arms forward and let your chest lower, whatever feels good for you. Breathe deep. Let your hips sink down now. We're letting the floor support us again now. If you feel this stretch is being forced on your body, come back up high. Just sitting through those hips. Just going to give you a bit of a side stretch. So if you're okay in this child's pose, keep your hips quite low and reach your arms forward. I'll give you an alternative in a second if child's pose doesn't suit you. If you're okay here, take your arms over to the right, so you're kind of lining up with your right knee. Push your hips back slightly, and if you can, put your left hand on top of your right hand. Breathe into this left side of your body, tucking your chin in. So stay there for a couple of breaths. If you're not happy with it, you sit on your bum. You put your right hand on the floor and you reach your left arm over. And just the same, you breathe into the left side of your body. way, and then you go over to the other side, so over to the left, so you take both arms over to the left. If you can, right hand on top of left hand, push the hips back and breathe into the right side of your body. And again, you do exactly the same sitting. Just reach over, whichever side we're doing. I've forgotten the side, just do the other one, whichever one it was. That's it. There's budgerigars with a better brain retention than I've got. And then come back to centre. Come back up onto your hands and knees for a little bit of knee hovering. Have to get that in. Hands underneath the shoulders. Feet flat, or if you prefer, tuck the toes. Now, widen across the shoulders. You can go down on your forearms, remember, but try not to bunch in on yourself. Keep your shoulders down if you're using your forearms. Push the floor away with your hands, widen your fingers, push down as if you're going to go on into a handstand. You're pushing down into your arms, tightening your belly and lifting your knees about an inch. Stay there for that deep breath in and out from your rib cage. And then back to the floor, relax. It's a tough move again. Push the floor away with your arms, widen across your shoulders, lift. Push the floor away with these arms. Don't want the weight in the legs. Breath in and out and down. If you can't focus on that breathing, count to 5. Push down, squeeze those abs, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. One more, lift. Smaller the lift, the better. 5, push the floor away. 4, 3, 2, 1, down and rest. Good. And then we're up to standing. So bring yourself up. Don't rush your head up because you'll get head rush and then you'll go dizzy. So walk your head up slowly. And we'll do a bit of standing work. Now, be sensible, especially if you're in your house, you've got more obstacles than you had in the hall, so just be careful. If you're on your own particularly, we don't want to have to send people around to pick you up. If you're on a carpet, it's going to be more difficult to balance, so again, just a bit of sense. And start to just wriggle your toes. I don't know if you can see my toes, but they're wriggling. Just like you're flapping them around in a bit of water. Then start to pick your toes up and put your toes down. So you're starting to work the arch in your foot. Soften your knees, because I don't want your weight to feel that you're shifting your weight backwards and forwards. It's just your toes going up and down. Reach your head for the ceiling, tailbone straight down, not drifting back or forward. Find that centre point and pick your toes up and down. If you're not sure about balance, do one foot at a time. So you've always got one foot as stability. Then pick all your toes up and see if you can keep the 4 toes lifted while the big toe goes up and down. Just working that inner arch of your foot. Then see if you can keep the middle 3 lifted while the little toe joins the big toe. Goes up and down with the big toe. It's not impossible. And then start to fan your toes up and down, little toe to big toe to little toe, working through those bones in your feet. If they're cramping, it's because the muscles aren't used to doing it, and you get a little bit tense as well when you're doing something you're not used to doing, so give it a rest, come back, try it again. And there's a point to that. It keeps the circulation going in your feet, but it also helps your balance. So what I want you to do now is just put your feet flat, get your shoulders comfy, reach your head for the ceiling and zip up. And without actually leaving the floor, just let your weight rock through your feet. A little bit forward, a little bit back. So you're shifting your torso forward and back and putting the weight in your toes and then putting the weight in your heels. And you'll feel your leg muscles starting to work. So when your feet are nice and flexible, they work with these leg muscles. At the moment, The leg muscles are pretty much doing it all themselves. Then start to let your toes and heels raise. So your heels raise as you come forward, your toes raise as you go back. Now your feet are helping with that balance work. The arches in your feet are starting to stretch and contract as your weight goes forward and back. Soften the knees. Doesn't have to be a big roll, just start to be aware of how your feet work with your balance. You can start to make the lift a little bit higher. I wouldn't go back any further, so just let your toes lift a bit, but when you come off your heels, you can start to come higher. So you're just easing back onto the heels and then rising up onto the balls of your feet. Reaching your head for the ceiling. Starting to stay up on the balls of your feet a little bit longer, working the calf muscles. If you've had your flip-flops on the last couple of days because it's been nice, you're going to feel those Achilles a little bit tight today. Start to come down a little bit slower, so come up to the balls of your feet, reach your head for the ceiling and start to lower your heels just a little bit slower and stretch out through the calf. Again, just back onto the heels and then roll up, stretch your toes out, reach your head for the ceiling, she says, falling over, and then slowly down. Just that little bit more control through the calf muscles. And then relax. Just check the time. And then you're going to have your feet a little bit wider and we're going to do some side to side. So reach your head for the ceiling and let your weight rock from side to side again. Not putting too much balance into it to start with, just be aware of the weight in the side of the leg. Reach through your head. So you're starting to work the strength down the side of the body. If that feels okay, you can come up more onto the ball of the non-supporting leg, up onto the big toe, stretch out, and you can raise your arms. Reach out through your fingers, through your head. Spread the toes on the supporting leg. Same on the other side, reach over, zip, lift the torso slightly. So you're aware of the weight is on your supporting leg. On your non-supporting leg, you've just got your tiptoe down. If you want to, you can take that tiptoe up. Spread your toes on the supporting leg and reach through your head. You're going to have one leg that feels sturdier than the other. Spread your toes, reach your head for the ceiling. Check your shoulders aren't trying to make their way up to your ears. And back to your feet. Good. Roll the shoulders. Nice bit of twisting now. So get your toes facing as forward as your feet will let you. Some people naturally will always turn out slightly, but as forward as you can. Shoulders back and down. Zip up so the tailbone points down. Rise slightly through the chest and fold your arms. So you're kind of a genie on the magic carpet now. Keep your hips square to the front and rotate your chest to the right. Come back to centre. Rotate your chest to the left. Again, I'm going to face you. You're just going from side to side. Keep these hips forward. Sometimes when people get caught up in this move, they think they're going to go a long way, and what they've actually done is just release the hip round. It's very little torso work. So keep your hips facing front, and you're moving your chest towards the side of the room, but not your belly button. Lift the torso slightly. If you feel there's no gap, no separation between your ribs and your hips, lift up a little bit, present your chest. Now, if you've got a little bit more left, rotate around as you've just done. Whichever side you're going, so I'm going to the right, you can karate chop. So that right arm is going to come out and karate chop round. Come back, and then same on the other side. So you're going to rotate, keep the shoulder down, and you're going to karate chop. And come back, squeeze the centre. karate chop round. Trying to bring the shoulder blade in towards the spine. Karate chop back. Good. One more. And then come back. Roll the shoulders. Nice big stretch. So hands in the back pockets. Lift the torso. Relax. If you want to, you can clasp the hands together. Pull the shoulders back, and as you lift the torso, pull the arms slightly away from the body. Just be careful of shoulder injuries. So pull the shoulders back, lift the torso. If you want to, pull the hands back. That doesn't mean you drop the chest forward. Again, another good one if you've been in the garden a lot. You've worked those pecs and biceps a lot. Lift. One more. And relax. And a few squats and stretches to finish. So arms out in front. Check your feet are wide enough for balance. Arms start out in front. Let your arms swing back. Sit into your chair. Drive forward with the arms. Down through the feet. Come up. And if you can, a little back bend. Squeeze the belly as you come upright. Sit the hips back. Drive those arms back. Drive the arms forward. Push down through the feet. Lift the chest. You sit a little bit lower now, you know what you're doing. Drive the arms back, maybe bring the hands closer together. Push through the legs, drive the arms up and forward and arch. One more. Sit down, reach up, little back bend. Right, class 4. Done. As always, lovely to hear your comments. Let me know how you're getting on, how you're doing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.